Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Faith Place Bible Institute, the Sunday School Experience. This is our final Sunday school this month for this topic. We're talking about mothers. And like I said, and I say this every week, they say, oh, well, Mother's Day was a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago. If my sister in law can celebrate the entire month for her birthday, we can celebrate mothers for the entire month. Our scripture is Proverbs 31:10. An excellent wife, who can find her? For her worth is far above jewels. Mothers play, as we were speaking through this month, mothers play an intricate role in our lives, whether we believe it or not, whether she was a good mother or not. Whether she gave you everything you thought you needed or not, her presence, what God put in her is like an extension of who He is. Mothers in the Bible have a profound impact, serving as crucial figures in God's redemptive plan, nurturing the next generation, passing down faith, and modeling sacrificial love. They're portrayed as teachers, guardians, and leaders who shape the spiritual and moral lives of their children. Good morning, Sister Hines. With their influence often determining the course of future generations. They are your first teacher. They are your first teacher. And like I said a few weeks ago, to a child, that mother is the everything. Who, when we call on Jesus, when you're a child, no, it's coming. When we call on Jesus, when you're a child, you calling on Mama. And that's what we used to say back in the day. We didn't say Mama. Black community, we said it's Mama. And I'm talking about Black mothers today, because what the Black mother experience is unlike any others. So I want to pay homage to them. They give them the flowers that they deserve, because we don't realize just what they have to deal with. Spiritual legacy. Mothers are vital in passing down faith, such as Eunice and Lois, who mentored Timothy. They shape history, like Jochebed, Moses' mother, Hannah, Samuel's mother, and Mary, Jesus' mother, raised children who transformed the course of biblical history. You don't know what your mother imparted into you can change or affect you in your life, in your history. You may not be that conduit, but your children may be what they need or what you need to do something spectacular in your life or in this world. She may have given birth to the person who cures diseases or transforms society. Able to deal with the craziness in politics. You don't know what she's imparted into you, or you may be passed down is coming, that you continue from what you were taught. Because let's face it, a lot of times we may have problems with our mothers, but we do end up repeating her words. I have friends say, oh, your mother said this. I say this all the time. Or she said this. And I hear other people, oh, yeah, I got that from your mother. I don't think my mother realized just how wise she was. She had a lot of wisdom in her, and she'll just say something off the cuff, and it's like she had the right answer. Mothers instinctively, innately seems to know what's needed. If their child is sick, they seem to know what to do for that sick child, if the child has problems. Because I've watched my mother help people with speech impediments. And I told her, you should have been a speech therapist, because you've been doing their work for free for years. People and she was very patient with them, and when before you know it, they didn't have it anymore. And it was really funny because people used to say, "Oh, why are you talking like that? Have you met my mother?" I learned sentence structure when I was a child because, and I tend to say that too, not to catch myself, but sometimes I just let it go. If we said, "Where are my shoes at?" her answer was always behind that preposition. And she did not change her answer until we changed that sentence. And I say the same thing, and my sister was even worse because she would correct people everywhere. I'm like, okay, mother had a little more tact than you, but we she didn't play because you're gonna try your mother, because she was ask me something and I says, okay, I'm fixing to. She said, fixing to. She said, spell it. I said, Fixinto. And she said, get the Bible, get the dictionary. And I knew it wasn't in there, so I was like, okay, I'm doing it. So she had an answer for everything. But when you think about what that black mother had to endure and what she having kids, because a lot of mothers, women want kids. I did. And they want to protect that child. And think of what that black mother had to face, endure, knowing that she was giving birth to black children. Good morning, Sister Jackie. Wisdom and guidance. The Proverbs 31 woman exemplifies a mother who teaches wisdom, works with diligence, and serves as a firm foundation for her household. She's an example of faith. Stories of mothers like Sarah and Rebecca teach reliance on God's promises despite challenges. Like I said, my mother grew up under holiness, Bishop Ford. And she said what a lot of people say, I'm not going to do that to my kids. So we did not grow up in church, but she taught us the word. Like I say, I didn't know that prayer to go to sleep, loud, lay me down to sleep. I didn't learn that till I was old, because we said the Lord's Prayer. We were saying scriptures, and we knew that we had to lean on God, and she taught us that. Mothers play a unique role in the world. They nurture life. They create homes. They shape futures. A tribute to black mothers honors a legacy of profound resilience, unconditional love, and fierce protection. They are the bedrock of families and communities, bridging deep historical strength with everyday grace to nurture, guide, and inspire future generations against all odds. Black mothers raising sons. Black mothers raising sons often navigate intense love with high stakes societal pressures, frequently focusing on extreme protection to shield them from systemic racism and violence. Research suggests a complex dynamic where sons may be coddled or face lower behavioral expectations compared to daughters, sometimes resulting in lower achievements, yet others show mothers effectively preparing sons to survive an anti-black world.
That's very true. We can see a decline. We can see a decline in that, especially over the past 20 years.
Yes.
Maybe even 25 or 30, but definitely a decline when I compare myself to younger generations. And you were talking about the language or something, and I remember that my mother would make up her own language for us. For instance, we could not say the word but, B-U-T-T, like in your backside, because it was too close to a cuss word.
Good morning, Deacon.
So she made up her own word, and that word was shoon shoon. So if we wanted to reference that, we had to say shoon shoon. We could not say the word lie, like you lying. because that was just a cuss word. And her word was, you telling a story.
We were the same. We would, yep. I just thought of it. We had to, you tell stories, yeah.
Yeah. We couldn't say that, But nowadays, we see, I see little kids.
It's, I'm gonna get into that, but back in the day, it was a lot different. It was a lot different. And I'm going to touch it later, but there was community. Because that person, that one mother, could not do it all. And I spoke on it before, and I'm going to speak on it again. It takes a village. It literally does. Because you don't have all the answers. You might can have the knowledge and experience on one thing, but somebody else can bring in. And the one thing about Black communities is the community, is the different roles. Everybody, cousin, auntie, uncle.
And that's it. The village where if
Tighter.
our parents worked,
It was tighter,
parents
yes.
worked and I was outside getting caught doing something wrong.
Oh, you in trouble.
Oh, somebody on that block. My mother had a call.
But
So
even
the
when
village, everybody was okay with you correcting your kids.
Mm-hmm.
They were okay with
Yes.
that. And as a
They
kid,
trusted that.
we watched out for that.
right,
And we respected that.
yes,
Oh, here comes such and such mama. Not my mama, but somebody else's
somebody's mama.
Right. We don't have that anymore. It's
Right.
don't say nothing to my
No.
kid. Now you can't say nothing to nobody kid.
Good morning, evangelist. Good morning, mother. Psalms 121, 7 to 8. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forever. Key aspects of mother-son dynamic. Protective versus independence. Due to fear for their safety, some Black mothers struggle to release their sons into independence, in contrast to encouraging early self-sufficiency in daughters. Differential socialization. A 2010 study found that later-born boys often had fewer chores, argued more with mothers, and faced fewer restrictions than sisters, leading to higher externalizing behaviors. Well, my brothers weren't later born, and they didn't have the chores that we had, but we're going to get on that too, but if you think about what she had to do, because let's face it, the truth is the truth. This is not a nice world for Black people. And back in the day I was going to say even worse, but it wasn't a 180, it's been a 360. And it's like right back to, or they trying to get back to, good morning, Deacon Wiley, get back to the way it was back in the day. But the devil's a lie. The coddling debate. Observations such as those discussed on ground control parenting suggest that some Black mothers overcompensate for societal anti-Black male sentiment by overprotecting their sons, which can negatively affect their maturity. It's early, my mouth don't want to work. Racial socialization. Mothers often focus on teaching sons about navigating racism and policing while focusing on self-esteem for daughters. Well, nowadays, the daughters are getting it just as much. Impact and need of Black Lives Matter. Research indicates that fear of police violence affects parenting, causing significant anxiety and stress for mothers, as detailed in a study from the professional counselors. I cannot imagine as a mother, a Black mother, sending your kids out into this world. You hoping that you've imparted as much as you could for them to be able to navigate through this life. Because I was not a mother, but I was a social worker with DCFS, and I tried to impart as much as I could to those kids. I've had multiple races, but and I did it for all, but I really wanted, to help the black boys to be ready for what's ahead of them. Challenges and support, single motherhood. Raising sons in single-parent households is a significant challenge requiring intentional efforts to introduce positive mentorship and emotional intelligence. Balancing authority. Mothers are often tasked with teaching respect and resilience while ensuring their sons develop self-awareness, according to the clinicians of color. Despite criticism that saying mothers are too soft on sons, other research shows that black mothers are resilient in teaching their sons essential lessons on sexuality, survival, and purpose. Knowing what their sons have to face, their black sons have to face in this world, in this country, because I'm not in other countries, so I can't speak on those. It might be same in other countries, but like I said, I'm here. So, and this is my experience, lived experience. You have to try to make sure, if you have to think of all that they had to impart into their kids, every T has to be crossed, every I has to be dotted, because you thinking if I miss something, when they take that step out into this world as an adult, a grown black man, I cannot even imagine what they may feel because of the way this world is. Those of you who are mothers, who've had sons, we're talking about sons right now, how was it for you in preparing your son for life in this country?
It was difficult. And I say that for me because I was a single mother, and you just can't teach them how to be a man. I can teach them what I know, what I feel they should do, but in terms of being a man, I just can't do it. So with that, I relied on my father a lot. So my father was that voice for him. He has his uncle, who was a voice for him. And then he has a slew of cousins. But I had to communicate that.
Right.
So that we'll have that understanding that mom is doing all she can do.
Right.
But as a man, I can't show you certain things. And it was difficult. And it still is difficult to a certain degree, because no matter what, it will be a void.
Right.
Because they don't have their father.
Right. Right. Evangelist, what was it like for you? Raising your son in this world, preparing him for what life in this country have for him.
Actually, good morning. I think while I was still, let's see, when he was, because he's 30, so at that time it was still like a little bit, I say better than it is now. So it was kind of easy, but it was a hard chore because he was a young man. Because, you know, some men tend to think they know everything, and he's one of them kids, so he's always been smart. So, yeah, men tend to think they know a whole lot, everything. So he's always, it was kind of hard because he was like one of them smart he's very smart. And so he still to the day thinks he knows everything about everything and everything about everything. So it makes it harder, but it was hard to send him out in the world because, like, you know, you would try to trust them and send them out in the world like teenagers, go out with your friends, whatever, and you be checking locations and praying and hoping that they make it back at home, and everything that you taught them, you hope it kicks in at that moment. Because, and as I tell Journey, when I tell them, it's not that I worry about you, I worry about the people around you. The world don't play fair. The world don't play fair. They don't care about you. And so I have to, it's hard. It was hard as, I wasn't a single mother with him. However, it was just, I was more of the parent. So it was hard because he fought in tooth and nail everything I said. Everything I said. He got an answer for me. I tell him go right, he want to go left. You shouldn't go right, Mom, because this, you know what I'm saying? And so he's still to that day, we still debate just like that. So it was it was difficult, but it makes you nervous as a mom because you know the things that happen out in the world with these young men and the way the world's set up. It's either the police come and can come after them, the drug dealers, you know, the gangbangers. So, it was a hard task to keep them safe and just get to that line. You feel like, okay, I arrived to 18. Let's get to 21.
Right.
Because you know what I'm saying,
And
without them
you
being.
breathe a little.
You breathe
like,
a little bit.
Okay, I can breathe a little deeper.
I can breathe a little bit because, okay, he ain't do none of the knucklehead stuff. So, okay, I ain't had to bun him out. Nothing like, you know, so all of that does come into factor when raising a young man because the world is so hard on them. It's hard for
Yes.
girls, but it's so hard on young men. It's so much more for young men.
Because I was reading it, you don't realize as a black mother, you are intercessors. You're prayer warriors because you land for your children and you praying that they want to make sure that they have everything that they need to navigate this world because it's not a nice world for them. It's not. And I mean, the truth is the truth.
I think one element that has gotten lost with that is that the new parents want to be friends with their children. And so you can't be, and I was told this as a kid, and so was my siblings, I'm not your friend.
No.
I'm your mother.
No.
Now, we're older, and so, because we're all senior citizens now, my mother's senior, and then we are seniors. And so we're friendlier now, but she is still our mother. And so respect gets lost
Right.
for parents when they try to be
Right.
their child's friend.
I always say that if you're being their friend, then they don't have a parent.
They don't have a parent.
Because you can't be both.
No.
Because you can't shapeshift. Today I'm your buddy, but then if you do something wrong, I'm going to be your parent.
Right.
They're not going to receive that, Evangeline.
If you try to play that role when they're younger, kids don't know when to turn it off. They don't know.
Exactly.
And so you'll be serious and they'll be standing there looking at you thinking you joking or be
Right.
like, ha, 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 laugh it off. No.
Right.
So ain't no in between. You have to
No.
say that for when you get later, when it later in life because
Yes.
kids don't know the difference.
Exactly.
And they don't know. And then you serious and then they playing and you about to choke them out because like, you ain't hear me? But they don't know. They don't know.
They don't.
It's a thin line.
What's more, sometimes, you have other people. We don't want our kids. We teach our kids what to do. Then you have an adult that's going to play with them. I don't play that. I don't care who it is. It's disrespectful. I don't care where it's coming from. They could be your aunt, your cousin. If I say it's disrespectful,
Right.
it's disrespectful.
Exactly.
You don't do that to this. But the other person cannot say, well, that's my nephew, or that's my, I don't care. Let me tell you something. With these boys, and because I was a single parent, he got in some trouble when he was 15. That was the moment I had the peace of God. And the reason I say that is because at that moment, I'm not going to jail to see you. I'm not doing it. And the reason being is because if I don't see you that way, I'm not going to make it a habit of coming to a facility to see you that way.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse. I just refuse. And I did that. My son said, Mama, you always say I'm at fault. You're right. Because when he was in school, if the teacher had to call me, you are at fault. You know why? Because you don't go to school to act a fool. You go to school to learn. If you're doing anything other than that, it is your fault. And that's what I had. He'll say it right now. Oh, my mama. Everything was my fault. You're right. It was your fault because I have an expectation. My expectation is, number one, not seeing you in nobody's prison. And number two, my expectation is that you do what you're supposed to do as it relates to your education. But you have to, that piece of God there, because I told them I'm not going. Now, they made me go to a workshop. I said, this will be the last day I come anywhere amongst all these criminals. I'm not a criminal.
Right.
I said, you want to be a criminal? Is this what you want? Look around.
Right.
You know, is this what you want? And so, never went to jail again.
Mother, do you have
Amen.
anything to add? Would you like to impart your wisdom? And knowledge?
I don't have any wisdom on it, but what I'm looking at, as we talk about, well, we saying young men, but young folks in general, as I look at the TV, what, you know, as parents, you try to raise your kids, you try to teach them, but what are they doing, going out here, getting all on top of the police car, dancing, and they know the cameras is on them. So everybody know what you're doing. What happened?
Back in the day, let me see. Okay, I'm just going. My parents, how my parents. First of all, we wouldn't have done that. We would have known. We would have known because I tell the story of how you doing, Missy? A friend of my father offered to give me a rabbit, and we already had a dog. This lets you know who my father was. My father pulled my dog to the side and told him what would happen to him verbatim if anything happened to this rabbit. Now, you don't know the relationship between a dog and a rabbit. They're not best buddies. But my dog knew my father. Good morning, Evangelist. And I looked at my dog says, I know you. So he took himself to be her protector. If I was about to spank my rabbit, she ran right up under him. Until I told him, if you don't move, you're both going to get it. And he was like, girl, you're on your own. But my father, if my father saw any of us doing some foolishness like that, you would never have met me because he didn't play. And my mother, I never heard my mother say, wait till your father gets home. She didn't need him. She had it all herself. Oh, yeah. Because I'm going to get on community, but my sister did something, and before she got home, he had gotten a call. And he met her outside. Black mothers and daughter. The black mother-daughter relationships are often deeply rooted in resilience, love, and the transmission of strength, yet they can also be strained by generational trauma, high expectations, and rigid discipline designed to prepare daughters for a harsh world. These bonds frequently face challenges with emotional intimacy and communication stemming from a need to navigate systemic racism and societal pressures. The different dynamics and themes. The strong black woman inheritance. Mothers often impart toughness and self-reliance to prepare daughters for racial gender discrimination. Think of the life that she lived. Oh, good morning, Sister Amber. The life that she lived, knowing that she has a daughter in this same world and may have to face, because where we grew up, my mother didn't live that far, and she went to Finger High School. And so when my sister went to Finger, she says, I did not want my kids to go there because of her experience. And it was practically the same when my sister got there. But they even the ones flipped it, but I ain't gonna go into that. That's a story that she's gonna have to tell you herself. But you prepare, because what the black daughter, that black woman goes through, I think she is hated from every dynamic, every demographic, in this world. But to be able to navigate that, because it was funny, I was at going for a job interview, And I was told by one of my professors multiple times that my face don't match my name. And I was sitting there, and when the woman came out to bring me in for the interview, I was the only one sitting there. And I saw her countenance just completely change when she realized, oh, you're it. And when she brought me back, because the position, this was after I got my bachelor's, which position was co-director of personnel. And she went on to say, I can see the wheels turning in her head, trying to figure out how she's going to present this. And she says, oh, your resume was just so impressive. I just wanted to meet you. You could have given me a call. Say, girl, you did good. But then she just went on, well, the position was filled. But I just wanted to meet you, and proceeded to offer me a secretarial position. I said, I worked as a secretary to get my degree. I got it. No, thank you. And what we had to deal with, and that was just one of many, but what we have to deal with coming out here as grown black women, you're either, you can't get upset. You're the that negative stereotype that they have, the angry black woman. You get angry. Okay, why can't I? I get upset, you get upset, Generational trauma and expectations. Many daughters report that mothers are harder on them than sons, yes, sometimes stemming from unhealed traumas, which can lead to strained relationships, or in some cases, deep admiration for their mother's strength. Because she grew up as a black woman, and so she knew what she had to deal with as a black woman, and she wants to impart in you as a black woman, or to be a black woman, and how to navigate this world.
I think that's two-part, though, in that speaking to the part about unhealed trauma.
Yes.
Many people, and if God had not pulled me into social work, I would be one of those people. Many people don't even recognize it as trauma. No. Whatever happened, they don't even recognize it as trauma. And there are many types of trauma. But at the top of the list, of course, is sexual abuse trauma. That's number one. Then you have physical abuse, and then you have mental, verbal, yeah. But at the top of that list is sexual abuse. And, of course, a lot of that stems from slavery. A lot of that came from slavery. And so when we, every generation. And so I was reminded of the 70s, because that was the generation I grew up in. And in the 70s, there was a lot of black exploitation movies. And so you had Pam Grier, who is the Beyonce of this generation. Right. And so here was Pam Grier in all of these movies, every movie, that they had, they were doing. And so white Hollywood put those movies out. Black folks didn't put those movies out. Right. And they saw her as a sex symbol. And so that's what it was. She was always the one in charge, but she had to go through all of this sexual trauma to get there. And so, she was assaulted in some of those movies. But at the end of the movie, you saw her as Coffee Brown, right. Or something like that. And so a lot of that shaped how we thought about ourselves as black women coming in the 70s and in the 80s. We saw ourselves as that. But that was systematic through Hollywood. And so when our parents saw black women as maids, like Hattie McQueen, or they were whores, never anything positive. And so when our own parents, our own mothers have gone through sexual trauma, we're either one of two. She's either going to put that thing on us and raise us. Don't you let no man, my mom's thing was, if he hit you one time, he going to do it again. And so here was the way that that shaped the way I dated when it came time to date. I never dated a man that outweighed me. He could be taller than me, but he could never outweigh me, because all I saw was my mom getting slung upside the wall. You're not going to pick me up and sling me nowhere, because I outweigh you.
Right.
If you try to pick me
Right.
up, you're going to hurt yourself. But then that shaped the way that I viewed men. That shaped the way that I got into relationships, you know. And so the other part is, you could go the opposite way, where you know I'm not going to be like mama, and I'm not going to let mama put this on me. But most of the time, we're in our 40s and 50s when we discover that. When we discover that, okay, no, this is, you know, girl, because I can see how me and my sister were raised differently than my younger sister and brother. We were raised in fight or flight. You be ready to go. But my younger brother and sister were not, because my mother was in a different mindset
Right.
when that came
Right.
along. You know, here was a stable marriage and things of this nature. And so even today, we're different. My sister and I think one way about business and things like that, and my brother and my sister, they think another way. And so we see that even in our world today. We see where, when you were talking, we see where here are women who are raising sons, and many of them are their husband's sons. Many of these younger men, they're boys, they're their mother's husband's son. And so they are coddled. They are put in a position, and so they're not ready to be somebody's husband.
Right.
Not all, thank God, but there are some that is like that.
A lot of that is stemming from fear. That fear that they don't want their daughters to have the same experience that they had, especially if they experience that negativity, that trauma, and they want to. That's why she says, "Don't let you." They said all that and did all that in fear that you don't have that testimony when you get older. That won't be your story, because as much as they say, what's the saying? As much as times change, they stay the same. And like I say, we didn't do a 180. It's a 360, because that same mind frame. Because I had a conversation with someone a few days ago, and how we was back in the day, and they want to bring that back. Whereas, because I saw on television the John Wayne movies where he put his wife over, the woman over his lap, and spanked her like she was a child. Yes. And then they had different sitcoms where the husband, you know, threatening to spank her. And I remember seeing those things, and what I grew up with and my experience, and I'm different from everybody else in my family, but I had this thing about no, because my mother was like, no, you don't let them. You have to be. It's like she wanted to put everything in me so that I can be ready, and my worldview was education. School was my sanctuary. Education was my force to get to what I want, because I did not want to be that housewife. I did not want, God bless you if that's your desire, but I hated asking my father for money, so I'm never going to ask can I have, because when I asked my father for some money, he says, well, what you want it for? And I think one time I said, you're either going to give it to me or you're not. And I love when we were watching television one day. We were watching television one day, and they were saying everybody should have, some money in your pocket. My father said, that's right. Even if it's just nothing but $1, I says, then give it to me, you know. But Evangelist, we're on daughters now, but we were talking about you raised, yes, you raised 2 sons, black sons.
They show us black.
I know your method. I know your method.
What? Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not ashamed.
Hey,
But you know what? I say this like I'm listening to the conversation, and I thank God for the conversation because, you know, as women, like our mother, me, Jackie, and Mitzi, she taught us to be independent of a man. Like you make sure you take care of yourself. The problem with that, thank God for salvation though, because you have to learn differently. You have to have that different mindset. Because what happened in society, in the church, is that because we were raised independent of men, and to do that, then in some instances, we took on the spirit of a man.
yes.
And therefore entered in homosexuality and all of those things. And we were okay with it. Like we have allowed society to make our young black men effeminate. And you think that they're gay or whatever. Some of them are not. They just have been raised by women and have not been like toughened up.
Right. Have that male role model.
Listen, and that was not, and I think about that, and it's a shame that as parents, when your kid likes the opposite sex, you be like, thank God. Why? That should be a normal thing.
Who thinks?
No, it's a lot of, if you don't understand, if you've been in schools as young as 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, they're allowing them to explore. You know what I'm saying? But in my house, you gonna be who I tell you gonna be until you get out of my house. You know what I'm saying? But we have allowed this kind of freedom. I know Kathy think I'm crazy, but that was it. Special. Because I am I am special. It's not that I was overly mean to my sons, but I had to be stern to the point whereas we not playing with no dolls up in here. You a boy. Now, if you want to play with an action figure, I like them too. We go play together. You watch what they watch. Like even there are certain things that they could not watch on TV. You can't watch witches on TV.
Can't watch what?
Witches.
Right.
I mean, and in our day, it was no harm. Bewitched. You had the Wizard of Oz. You had all of those things, and it was no harm. But when they came up, and I would say, you couldn't watch that. Mm-hmm. We not watch it. If I see, you watching a girl body parts, they be like, oh, no, you can't do that. You know why? Because we allowed them to watch those things that are over-sexualized. Even in the cartoons, you allow them, and they are human. They are made like we were their age, all the same body parts.
Cartoons are not the same as when I was
all the same body parts. And then when they get a little touching and they get a little feeling, you like, where'd that come from? Because you were a little too loose with what you were doing. And I do just believe that, thank God for salvation, because when you know better, you try to do better, you know. However, even in salvation, once you be saved, you don't know everything. You have to kind of work that thing out within yourself, because I know even early in my marriage, I was like, who are you? I mean, I'm telling him what to do. Like, why? It's crazy.
Right.
Like,
Right.
what's wrong with you? I mean, here, do this. And it was wrong. Listen, it was wrong. But this is what our mom trying to, like you say, out of fear, trying to protect us because of her upbringing. She just did the best she could with what she had.
Yes. They were faced, you think it was bad through our upbringing. They faced much more.
You know, and if you look in the Bible, like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Women had it hard. They didn't even say our name a lot. Do you understand? Like when if a woman couldn't have a child, she was the one that was shunned. It wasn't a man. Like if she was having adultery, it take two to tango. I don't know why he ain't stoned.
Exactly.
We the only one stoned. We the only
Yes.
one standing in the middle of the street.
Because
Looking
what's
crazy.
Lot's wife's name? What's Lot's wife's name? Lot's wife.
Right, Lot's wife.
Yes.
Lot's
Yes.
wife. Lot's wife.
Right.
Right.
The woman that believes. Right.
Listen, and the one you really know, Gomer. What's that? Here y'all go.
They play a role of mentorship. Mothers often serve as powerful role models, teaching self-confidence, independence, and the importance of education, advice, and legacy. Discussions between mothers and daughters frequently center on valuing oneself, taking control of one's destiny, and carrying forward lessons from elders. I told you my mother taught me about respect, and she said respect is earned. And there were multiple times when, I was very dogmatic with it, because I remember she would send me into the store to get the light bulb for our chandelier. And I was short that time. I was, 12. And all of these people, adults was coming in there talking over me. And I'm just watching people coming in and getting the guy behind the counters, taking everybody, and I've been sitting there. And I said, hey, my money spends just like theirs. And I told Mama, respect is earned. And she would just shake. She said, I wish I didn't teach you that. But I was really dogmatic with that because you have to, navigating as a black woman, black girl, into the black woman in his life it's not an easy task. Because yeah.
You may have to stand on your standards, but we in this, the enemy has us so mixed up that we are fighting our own battles. And we believe that we have to fight it. I'm going to be honest with you. I told the Lord I hated how he made me. I just had an honest conversation with him because I was passive. I was laid back. I allowed people to have a lot of, their way, and I said, I hate the way you made me. And I started taking things into my own hand. And it was a trick of the enemy because never up until that point, I didn't have to fight my own battles. God would literally, in front of my face, fight them all. But in me, in my flesh, I wanted to win. I did not want them to feel like they won. And so what happens is we have things like Women's Lib or the women's movement. And we have this saying we have to fight for these rights. And although we stand on the standards because we should have that right to vote and that right to doing those things, but there are certain things that ushered in a wave of us taking on the spirit of a man. And we didn't realize it. I mean, the wool over our eyes. We just fighting for our rights, but we took on what that a man was supposed to do, and it's just so important now that we submit to the Lord, humble ourselves, and allow God to put this thing back in order.
Yeah, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child is a proverb of likely African origin, suggesting that entire community, family, friends, teachers, neighbors most interact with and support children for them to grow into secure, healthy adults. It emphasizes that raising children is a communal effort, not solely for parents. Diverse support system. The village includes immediate, extended family, teachers, neighbors who provide security, guidance, and care. They share responsibility. implies that multiple adults provide nurturing and mentorship, offering diverse experiences that help children thrive. Everyone benefits. The children are happier because they know that they have somebody's looking out for them. They know that they are being covered. Challenges today, the modern village is often fractured, with families facing increased isolation, long working hours, and reduced social connectivity. The village components: safety, nurturing, accountability, education. Because if somebody caught you doing something, you get checked right there. And some of them will even spank you. Because when I was little, the teachers were allowed to hit you. But my mother said, if my kids need to be hit, call me. And sometimes she would just show up there just to be there, just in case. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. That that's why that village was very important, because if that parent didn't have all the answers, someone in that, as like we says, that fictive kinship was there to provide the support, to pick up the slack, so to speak. The village often includes fictive kin, close friends, neighbors, and church members who are treated as family. You know, everybody was auntie or cuz. You know, we had a lot of cousins, a lot of aunts and uncles, and, and they will look out for you. Good morning, deacons. They will look out for you. They will share the responsibility of the parent, because raising a kid is not easy. That's a lot of work. And if you are on your own, if you don't have that support system, that family unit that we built, that can make things even harder. For mental and physical health, support system, passing on knowledge. And another one is the other mothers. Other mothers are women who provide care, nurturing, and support to children who are not biologically their own, playing an essential role in communal child rearing. These figures, which include aunts, teachers, neighbors, or friends, support the biological mother, fill in during absences, and provide crucial emotional support and educational support. Like I said, that is a big task. Because I had a friend of mine, she says, I'm raising adults. I'm not raising my children, I'm raising adults. And I had, not realizing, well, when I had kids in front of me, I took that very seriously, because I was raising them as well, and trying to impart into them from a broken situation that they experience, to try to fill in the gaps that brokenness brought in them, and to prepare them for what they will face in life. Because, and I argued with my supervisor one time, because I was trying to get some financial support for something, And I said, would you deny your daughters? If your daughters wanted this or needed this, would you deny them? No. Well, we're it for them. So, and I was a child advocate and I was fierce with it. So, I'm like, so in other words, sign the papers because they need this. If you're going to deny this, if your child came wanting this, would you say no? No, you won't. You will give them what they need. You would try to make their lives, because every parent, and I would talk to parents, every parent's mentality is and thought process is, I want my child to have a better life than I had. I don't care how far you got in life, you want your child to have better, experience better, and not have the, like we were saying earlier, as a black mother, and we talk about black mothers because I had one of those, you preparing that child for the life that you experience, and you want to make sure that your daughter or your son, as a black mother, don't face, because, you know, those of you who are parents, you see what's out there, and you see, I'm sending my child out there. Mother.
I just want to know one thing. What happened to the village? It don't seem to be working today.
It's like Sister Evangelist Wiley was saying, it's like you, because back in the day, it's like one parent can work a job to support the family. But now you have both parents working jobs and they still can't support the family. So you have, it's fragmented. That village is fragmented. And then you have some people take advantage of that role in that village. You can't, evangelist.
I just wanted to say, like, the village went out the window, right? Because back in the day, everybody on the block raised me. Everybody. Yeah. If I did something, the neighbor getting me, he gonna get me home. My auntie gonna get me. Then my other auntie. Then my. So it was a known without saying. And the level of respect, you can't say anything to these kids anymore. I can't say. You can't say anything. You're gonna have to almost fight the children. Then they're gonna tell their mama. So now they mama young and ghetto. She wanna fight. So it's no more village. That's over with. I tell my mama all the time. I said we'll be somewhere and she'll say something to people kids. I'd be like, stop talking to these people kids, because I don't want to have to beat their mama up. I tell her all the time. Ask her. I be like, stop talking to these kids because they disrespectful, and if they say something to you, it's going to be a problem. So I said, I do not want to be in jail. Stop talking to these people's kids because I do not want to have to be in jail for fighting their mama. So, however, the village is totally gone. You cannot say nothing to these kids no more. Even, and it's so crazy because you take a chance on, you got to fight the mama, the daddy. They're going to come to your house, knock your windows out. They want to shoot at you. The village is totally gone. If it ain't nobody that's personally that you know that's close to you, ain't no village. That's gone. That's over.
And you can see the effects. You can see the effects of society because that village is gone.
It's not just the village, it's trust.
Well, this is because of what happened in the village.
People are not trusting, not only the village though, because even in church, we should be able to trust one another to know that we're not saying anything bad. We're not doing anything bad. You know
well, okay. You know where I used to work, and some things happened in church. Everybody who walks through that door is not saved, sanctified, and filled.
No.
And some people come in operating with other deities. And some, yes. Mm-hmm. And little girls. Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly. It does. No. No one trusts anymore because of stories, of things that has happened.
Which
you
is
know, the
sad
truth is the
because-
truth.
Which
you
is
know.
sad because
It's
what
sad.
about our kids?
It is
that
sad.
are in the church.
Especially with,
You see
with
what I'm
the
saying?
story that's going on out today. You know, this ain't nothing sexy about a child. I'm sorry. The fragmented, messed up minds. And I just want to thank you all that this month I wanted to honor women and mothers, especially because you can't talk about mothers without introducing women. But when you think about, and today we were focusing on black mothers, and to know what they been through, what they experienced, what they saw, and what they tried to impart into their children to navigate this world as a black son, as a black daughter, knowing what they may face. They were their prayer warriors, intercessors. They lay before God. They worried about you, and to think about what to lose a child, to lose, knowing that what your children will have to face, knowing what they had to deal with. We talk about what Lot's wife had to experience. How many black mothers had that experience of burying her children? When you think about seeing your mother in a different light and what she experienced is the way she's raising you so that you can be safe and hopefully being shielded from. And sometimes they be overprotective because they don't want you to be hurt. They don't want you to be traumatized as they experience. Like I say, my mother said she didn't want her children going to Finger High School, but they did. But some of them did. And some of the same experiences were still going on because you had some people that didn't want to let go. But I'm winding down. And I just want to thank you all, and I hope from this that you can appreciate and maybe see your mothers in a different light. 10 o'clock, 10 minutes, sorry, Pastor. We have at 354 West 71st Street or 71st and Stewart. Come back for an experience that you'll never forget. Thank you, and may God bless you.